Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is School District of Upper Dublin Board of School Directors Facility Committee meeting. It's March 17th, St. Pat's Day, 2016. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're in the beautiful Upper Dublin Forum Room. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask if there are any announcements or communications.
There aren't in this morning, thank you.
Okay, and we have minutes from February 18th of 2016, so we'll be moving those over for approval to the full board. And we'll get right to our facility report recommendations and presentations. The first one is Troxel presentation regarding AV items.
And this is going to be introduced and hosted by Mr. V.
Good morning, everyone. So, just adjusting the mic for height. Brenda, you can't come up here. It's a jump. So, as we all saw, we spent the better part of 45 minutes this morning getting this room ready for a meeting. We have the same financial challenges with the Cardinal room upstairs. I'm going to introduce Dave Weibel and Troxel in just a moment, but I think it's important to give some context to why we're having this conversation about upgrading the facilities in two rooms that are relatively new. When these rooms were designed, the Cardinal room and the Forum room, they were designed to be large spaces where we could do large group construction, hold community meetings. We could also have the flexibility to divide those spaces. They were designed to be push-button solutions. Someone could come in, principal, teacher, class, that somebody from the community could rent the space for a community meeting, come, bring their equipment, bring a laptop, connect, and turn some buttons and be presenting and talking and adjusting the lights, etc. Now, that's not the case. It worked evidently for a while, and it's hard because the decision makers here in this room were not part of that project and that approval. But it worked for a while, and does not work anymore. When I came into my role a year ago, I immediately investigated what our options are. Can we go and have that conversation with the contractor vendor who did the work? Can we hold them accountable for the poor quality of that work? I collaborated with Jason Girdman. We reviewed terms of the work, terms of that contract, and any capacity that we had, legal capacity to hold those vendors responsible, had long since elapsed. We did pay Billy Sound, the original vendor, to come and do some work in the Cardinal room and give us recommendations on this room. They did a fix in the Cardinal room that required us using not the wireless mics anymore, but just these wired mics. And after a while, the facility system had problems with that, so we don't want to go back to Billy Sound. I worked with a couple of vendors, brought them in to get some pricing, comprehensive pricing on not only fixing these rooms, but upgrading. Right? We don't want to repair the equipment we have because that's the equivalent of taking my VCR in and fixing it instead of buying a Blu-ray player. So if I went today, I would buy a Blu-ray player or a DVD player, right? Or I might even skip those things because now I'm streaming everything. But we don't want to fix the VCR. So I brought in Troxel, we brought in Delco Solutions. We had two competing bids. Troxel, their bid is lower than Delco Solutions, in part because it's a creative solution which salvages a lot of the top shelf equipment that we have, repurposing, keeping what we can repurpose. Still, though, expensive. Another piece now, I'll introduce Dave and Troxel and let Dave present on his solution. We have partnered with Troxel for the AV for a lot of our classrooms over the years. In my 1 year here, the partnership that we've had with Troxel has just been exemplary. Dave and his company have gone above and beyond. If there's ever a problem with anything that they've installed for us, they're back after a phone call. There's no extra charge. They work to get us the best value for our dollar. Troxel also worked with us for our Chromebook initiative. They negotiated aggressively on our behalf. And recently, when other districts decided to go with Troxel for their Chromebook initiative, and much larger districts, and a new price was negotiated for them, mostly because of my recommendation. Dave went back and negotiated and said, we need to give Upper Delta the best price that we could give anybody else. He was able to negotiate that for us. So I would like to, within that context, introduce Dave as a partner with Upper Delta.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning, everybody. I am very intimately familiar with this room. I worked with Stephanie Helquist for a few years before Philip came aboard, and there were issues, back then that we constantly were talking about addressing, but never really got down to what to do about it. I think part of it was budgetary, and we didn't want to throw a bandy at it, basically. And so Philip had approached me recently about doing a full-scale approach to make it what it was supposed to be originally, and that's user-friendly for anyone to come and use. So our proposal is to make it comprehensive. We're going to replace the current control system with a manufacturer named Crestron, which we have now, but it's much newer and updated and digital. So what you will have is you'll have a touch screen, and that touch screen is an FB program to your liking. So we can make it as simple or as complex per screen as you would like. So we could have the screen that you touch, it illuminates, has the Upper Delta logo on it, and says on. And that's it, one button says on. You hit on, projector comes on, screen comes down, all in one motion. Or we could have more options on that screen. So the point is that working with Philip, we will design the system to walk you through it as you feel best. And then you will sign off on that and say, we understand that what each screen is going to say as we move for volume or for control. And once we all agree that's what you want, then we'll proceed with the program. So that's the program part of it. For projection and your image here, we're going to replace these screens with what's called a tab attention screen. And a tab attention screen will hold the screen very tight and look almost like TV. So you won't have any of this waviness in here that you have right now. The screen will be the size of the opening or the soffit. So again, at the cost savings, these screens will close, they'll be shut until being removed, and out try one whole new screen put in. We'll kill the power to them, mount another screen right here inside the software where you can't see it. And again, that's for cost savings, so getting into carpentry and everything else. So you'll have a tab attention screen here, a projector mounted in the same location this one currently is, but it'll be double brightness. And that goes for all 4 locations of capability terms and dividing in half.
So that will help us with keeping the lights on.
Absolutely. You're at 3,000, not quite 3,000 lumens right now. This projector we're putting is 65. We're also going from this aspect ratio of the screen is like your old CRT or tube TV. And what you're replacing that with is what's called WXGA, which is a LCD or a flat panel TV. So you'll be more rectangular than you will square. So you'll have the proper image. Along with that, when someone comes up here to present with their laptop, you're going to have a digital back end. So with regards to whether they plug in an analog or an older style computer or newer style computer, through the way it's programmed, it will always size on the screen and appear the same way. Right now, I've been here personally, you can come in and plug in, and it's actually off the screen, or above the screen. So this will have components in the background that will work to always make it look the same on this screen up here. Again, user friendly, so you can come in, plug it in, hit the button, and you're up, and you're on. And that's what we propose for basically every room. And just to bring you into where things are headed right now with everything being digital. So you'll have an HDMI connection, you'll have a VGA connection, you'll have things that kind of will help future-proof, as well as if you have legacy products as well. I also have spoken to Phil about using the current wireless system downstairs for your conferencing system, and then also giving him a price point if that does not work to replace that completely and put a new system in. Right now, I'll have to talk to Phil some more about it, and you as well. But from what I'm seeing here, you may be best served by a wired system, but they make wired conferencing systems right now. So when I say conferencing system, it will be a true conferencing system where you have a chairman microphone and what they call delegate microphones. So you push the button on the microphone to talk, and then push it again, to turn it off. The chairman at any time can hit a button and mute everyone's microphone if things get, if there's a reason for that, I'll say. But the new wired style microphones for set up like this are a Cat5 cable that daisy chain in and out of each microphone. So you don't have a floor box like this with all these cables. You have one cable that runs in between each one, and then the last cable goes back to the main system. And if we discipline that for you in a portable rack, when I say portable, I mean probably about 12 inches wide, about 2 feet tall. You can take that around and plug it in here. You can go upstairs and plug it in, and then that would literally be someone bringing all the microphones out, running daisy chain cable between each one, and then one cable back to the wall, and it would be up and running, ready to go. And that's a little bit more flexible than if you had wireless. If you did that wirelessly, you would not have the portability. So that's something to consider. Wireless is also about 2/3 more than wired, but wired, in my opinion, gives you more flexibility if you're going to use it in multiple locations. If you're going wireless, you're going to be relegated to using it in that one location at all times.
Even for the podium mic, is that rented, or is that separate?
It could be, you can just simply stick one up here and run it through, or you can keep it up as it goes through your house sound. The good part for you about all of this is that in both of these rooms, your backbone is very stable. There's name brand, very good equipment back in the rack in this room and upstairs. The downside of it is mainly the control, the way it was programmed, and the communication between all those devices. And I see it often where there's a large project, new construction, and there's a bid that goes out, and there's no connection between the contractor and someone at the district office at the end. So they get a board of the price, they program it, they put it in, their job is done, quote unquote, and you never see them again. And it's unfortunate it just happens that way.
Part of this program, would that have anything like a distance learning component? Like, one of the things we talked about in the design of this room was, students being able to talk to, say, a professor at some university off-site.
Right.
Is that part of any of this?
It wasn't built into this proposal, but it could be added easily to the camera. Yeah. I mean, it's all it would be a PTZ camera mounted, in the back here or something. I mean, what I've given Phil in regards to the proposal and the pricing, I was also relying on the fact that the relationship that we have, this could be something that if there was, during the process, hey, we want to do this instead, or without cost difference to you, making some subtle changes. And that's why I value the relationship with him so much, because a job like this is not just simply plug and play. There is a lot to it. And someone might not like the fact that you put this button on this page, or so there'll be times when you come back and change things around. So that would be, advantageous to, be able to work with someone that much in the beginning to know exactly how it would have to go.
Has there been pricing for the project put together yet?
Yes.
What did that do?
So the total, that I separate the pricing into this room here together at $38,962, and upstairs at $39,549. So the total is $78,511 for 4 rooms. Now a push to talk, and this is a manufacturer, Sennheiser. They're very well known name brand of microphones. Would be $11,500. So then you'd be at $9,000. That's if you added a push to talk system, portable push to talk system that you could use upstairs, down here, wherever you want to add it.
So you're saying 4 rooms, so we could have 4 different events going on at the same time?
Yeah, if you close this wall off,
Right,
absolutely.
same upstairs.
Yeah.
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 All right. Okay.
So right now you have, it's kind of redundant, but you have this control system on the podium, and you have one back over here on the wall. We're going to eliminate the one on the wall, or the one on the podium. Again, that's part of working with you. Our idea is to be able to wheel the putting out, have your control on it, plug in, this floor box would go, because these connections sticking up out of the floor like that are an absolute hazard and can be lopped off or kicked or tripped over. So we recess that part of it down so it's truly below the floor level like this is. When you don't want to present or use the podium, you can wheel it off, put it over here in the corner, but plug it into a wall outlet so that the control panel on the podium was still operating, because these wouldn't be operating on the podium. The other option would be to have just a control panel on the wall that came in and hit that button to lower the screen and everything. Instead of putting it down a control panel in it. Again, things we can talk about along the way. But I see nerves to have the control panel here and on the back wall in all 4 rooms. It's like, where do you know, it's too much, really. It makes it, really complicated.
So an app that can do that too? That's a good system.
There is, Crestron does have a couple, they call it the GUIs and widgets that you can get on. I think they may have one on iPad. I'll look into that for you, but I'm almost certain they do. And they have ones now where you can control, like, mixer, so. But the nice thing about that is if you decide to use something like that, we could, or they'll give people a certain price to do it in, so you couldn't just have anyone hack into it and start messing around with your meeting.
So these things they just do well. The lighting.
It is nice, but it's also nice to be wired to something too. Ultimately, I mean, wireless is great, but wired is connected.
You mentioned that these systems are portable. If the school or the administration came back to us and said, look, in almost no case we have 4 different events happening at the same time.
Right.
We really only need 2 or 3 of these systems, not 4. What would that do to the project?
So what I quoted you on was referring to in the push to talk system. Yeah.
Okay.
I put one system in and report it.
Right. So the push-to-talk mic add-on, down here, we have this current solution. And when the room is set up the way it should be, you will have essentially the capacity for 4 microphones, podium mic, portable mic on either side, or it could be a lapel mic. Upstairs, we have, sitting in that back room, the wireless mics. They're little black squares. And so the first line of attack is, we think we can make those work. And so that's what talks will do first. Now, if that doesn't work, or in addition, this option to buy one, this portable push-to-talk microphone system that works over Cat5. So instead of this box, which is the size of Jason and myself pushed together, and this potpourri of microphones and cables, we would have one very efficient system that we could bring here, or if we needed to have meetings during the day, that we could bring to the cafeteria for what we needed, that we could bring to the bar if we needed. That would be truly independent of location. So that's just one system for one event. If we have we get the wireless system that we have upstairs to work, we could, in theory, have distance learning event happening here, upstairs, upstairs. Again, I cannot imagine that might happen more than a couple of times in a 5-year cycle, right? So, but having that work as a functioning board would require this much noise.
I mean, part of my question, of course, I'm looking at the dollars and the sticker shock involved with that, and if there's a way to pare the scope of the project to the extent as possible, and get the price down a little bit. Because we're interested, we want to make sure everything works, and everything, we can do what we need to do, but at least a number of dollars expended.
And that's a piece where we can work with David. I think the first line of attack is not to consider that portable wired mic system, to try to think what we need to work upstairs for first, but that knocks some off. And then there are other pieces that we could do. I mean, we could swap out, we can fix everything, swap out the projectors, and leave these screens, because that's a big expense, right? It means a smaller image. It would still be a little wavy, be much brighter, have the lights on, right? And then at another point in time, we can swap out the screen. And so there are ways that we can do.
Okay, so I'm looking at bringing this back to the board in kind of a phased manner. First go will be X number of pieces of equipment and a dollar amount, and when can we expect to start seeing this being brought to the consideration?
One of the things, I don't think it's been mentioned this morning, is Troxel, and all of this is coming from CoStars, correct?
Right.
So that gives us a little more flexibility with how we move through. We've just had a lot of frustration and issues with the sound, and we've tried to make it work, piggybacking on what's been done in the past. So working with Phil and Troxel, and you all know I don't like to spend money, but I think that we need to look toward a solution that serves us in 2016 and moving forward. I had a smile about the VHS scenario that Phil brought out earlier. And what will happen, or what I will request, is we don't have anything indicating numbers this morning, but that Phil and David would get us information that we could share with the board so that we can move forward and get these rooms fixed.
If you were to start to remove certain things to try to save money.
We need to just talk to the microphone, please.
If you were to remove certain things to try to save money, in other words, like keep the screen like Bill has suggested, ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to start to save $1,000 here, $1,000 there. You're not going to save tens of thousands of dollars. Aside from removing the conferencing system, which was 11.5, that would save a big chunk. But when you start to do small pieces, it will give you small chunks. And just working with Bill, I would work that to the point where I was comfortable saying, if we still did this, you would be happy with it. But I won't go to the point of saying, we'll just put this touch panel on and break the past because you've been through too much of that. And that would be, it would not make any of us look good.
No, I think we need a serious upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, I just don't want to have an overkill of 4 different systems that are all top notch. If we don't need that, we only needed 3 to work in.
Yeah, we're taking, you have 4 systems now, and we're just taking those 4 systems and making them work comprehensive for everybody. Yeah, we're not over-engineering it.
All right, that's good, that's good. Any other questions from the board?
No, I don't see this 4 systems. I mean, this is 2 systems here.
And 2 upstairs.
Yeah, so it's really
Yeah.
a system on each floor. And I would prefer that we did as much as we could and get it done and just do it.
I guess we refer to those 4 as dividable.
Yeah, it's dividable, but really it's just this system here and one upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is we spent a lot of money on these rooms
Mhm.
with the notion that we're going to get great utility out of them.
Right.
And this is a little piece that is holding us back from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to make sure that these rooms are fully functional the way they were intended. That's number one.
Right.
And then we'll go from there. So I look forward to that being brought back to the board, in the future.
We have those wireless mics. We tried using them before, right, Phil? Those are the ones that are upstairs that we just couldn't get to work. I have the blue button for me where I can just turn everybody off.
Right, we have those wireless mics. Dave has examined them. He thinks that it's a battery issue with those mics, and that otherwise they should be fully functional. We do have to move the receiver. It was put on one side of a wall, so there's a wall separating that signal. So that will be our first line of attack. As you said, it's really 2 systems, one on this floor, one upstairs. The alternative is here's the big cost, is this control system, which either needs to be updated or swapped out with a whole other control system. Delco Solutions came to us with a proposal that was almost $20,000 more with an alternative to this control system, and essentially gutting everything and starting over with all new equipment, on the back end. So I appreciate it because that was I saw that first and had that sticker shock. And earlier in the summer, I had another company that came, and theirs was $80,000. So, it's been this aggressive process of bringing it all the way down, and maybe I'll share those with the board as well, just so, because it always helps to say, oh, okay, all right, it's expensive, and it's unfortunate, right, that we just invest a lot in this room, but you said that you captured it well. It's this one piece that holds back these two facilities from realizing their potential.
It was probably spec'd out in 2008, Joe? When?
I bet it was before 2008.
Yeah, okay, so it's,
I mean, we could find out, but it's a couple of generations ago.
I think it was 2007, right before.
Okay.
2008.
Yeah. The other thing too is this system, while Crestron makes an outstanding product, they're an industry leader. This system that you have, they were at an impasse between digital and analog, and this is kind of a combination of both. It's not their finest showing by any means. So you also got that, like, we'll see if this works for this year type of thing. And everyone during that generation, or that time period, they were all stuck in that same kind of gap, and they all had solutions at that time frame that were really not that great and have proven.
So Dave, what's the quality of the video then, if you're projecting? I mean, do you get HD?
Yes. Yes.
Not 4K?
No. So what we expect in is 720. Really between 720 and 1080, you're not going to notice a lot of difference, but the cost in a projector to generate 720 versus 1080 is almost double. So they go up that much more.
So which one are we, 720?
720. So it's high definition 720p. So you go to 1080, you almost double the cost of the projector. And I don't think anyone here would mind having 720, versus 1080.
Okay. All right, great. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is National Glazing Solutions discussion regarding Fort Washington window films.
Yes, I brought National, or IGS, in to take a look at Fort Washington about a week and a half ago. Did an assessment with regards to, the first issue was the overheating of the classrooms based on the sunlight coming in the rooms. And that's what this price is here today. It's about $7,000. And this is to be in place on the windows that receive that southeastern light that heats up the rooms. They believe that will reduce the heat impact in those classrooms. But also I want to interject that we're going to be coming here next facilities meeting to do a further discussion and presentation about this system, as well as I had them look into doing a building audit. I know there's an issue with the windows. There was a possibility of replacing them at one point in time for over $1 million. They have a possible solution in which they can put a film on the windows to try to make it act like a two-pane window. So I'd like to have them come in next month, give a presentation, and they can provide us an idea what the cost would be, and how much savings we would garner on a energy saving standpoint.
Okay, that sounds great. Any questions on that? Okay, so we can look forward to next month having a more full-blown conversation about this item.
With these timelines that we may have, would it get done by June, by May, June this year?
Well, the work itself would probably take place over the summer for the work itself. Otherwise, and they could perform the work with regards to these several classrooms that have the heating issue, but that will affect teaching because they'll be outside the building putting film on. So
And this includes the long hallways,
yes.
right?
Okay. All right, great. All right, so we'll look forward to hearing about that next month. The next item is Aramark Energy Program update.
Yeah, included in the package is 2 colored pages of the reports for December and January. If you want to take a look inside, we've got shown pretty good progress with regards to our energy usage reductions. Just to summarize, all the buildings look good. The high school has come down. Maple Glen has greatly reduced as well. The real thing that I'm going to have someone come in next week and take a look at is Thomas Fitzwater. That's the one school that has shown an increase in energy usage. So we're going to try to figure out what that could be, whether it's an incorrect operation of the boiler, something staying on a continuous basis electrically, just to find out where we're getting our higher energy usage in that building. But for the most part, we're showing a overall reduction from when the energy program ended a year and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah, at Thomas Fitzwater, if I recall, part of the reason we got such great savings versus the baseline had to do with shutting off the lights or not bringing them on until, just before the kids showed up and things like that.
Yeah.
So it may be just a function of some method change.
Correct. Hopefully, it's just a process that has changed recently that has increased the energy usage in that building.
Really encouraged by what we're seeing at Maple Glen. If I recall, when we're looking at Energy Star ratings, it takes a little bit of time because they track like several months. So.
Yeah, Energy Star rating comes out on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
So you'll see on the front page, if you look at the most recent January, our Energy Star score is 25 baseline, and the energy intensity 76. That was our baseline year. We're now up to 56 Energy Star rating, and the current usage intensity has dropped to 65. So we're in really good shape, and we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's quite encouraging at Maple Glen because of all the work that's been done over the years to, button up the areas that were kind of exposed to atmosphere, and then with all the work you did with the control systems and that. So we did put it through some paces this winter with some really cold days and that. So I'm encouraged by all that.
Yeah, things are promising.
Good. Any other questions about energy? Okay, thank you. Next is a discussion regarding oil tanks, removal versus cleaning.
Yes, over the last 10 years, ever since the Gerritown incident, we haven't used oil with our heating systems or boilers. So right now, at our 4 elementaries and 2 buildings at our middle school campus, we have oil tanks that still have oil residing in them. So I basically took a company through J&J Environmental to get an idea, an estimate basically, what it would take to remove the oil and clean out the tanks. And I got a rough price, or actually it's a hard price, of $16,350. That's just one bidder. We take the thing, if we would want to move forward, I'd go out and procure 2 or 3 more bids. But the question is, what do we want to do with the oil tanks at this time?
That would cover all the tanks?
Yes, that would be all the tanks.
Okay, so
All
all the
6.
oil would be pumped out. What would they do?
They would actually go in the tanks themselves, clean them out, remove any water, sand, residue, and clean them up, and then close them.
Okay, so they would just stay empty.
Correct.
Is there anything they need to do to the walls to keep them from rusting?
No. Basically, we can talk about if there's a need to install inner gas, but I'm not quite sure that the close, the cap on top of it would make that such. We could fill them with sand, make them permanently placed out of use.
Yeah. Okay. There's no testing of the surrounding area or anything like that for contamination or anything?
No, there's no plan on testing the soils around the tanks. It's something we could look into, but if we do find something, it has to be addressed immediately.
Right. We have no indication that.
No. As far as we've been testing, or just not saying, we've been gauging the tanks for over a year and a half now, and have seen no change in levels.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, for the amount of money we're talking about, and the tanks are just sitting there idle, they should be taken care of properly. I don't like the idea of tanks sitting with oil in them for a long period of time. I just think, my own judgment, it should just be done. Okay, for this small amount of money, it should just be done.
Okay, all right, I'll proceed forward with procuring more prices,
Yeah.
and then bring something forward to the board to vote on.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Any other questions on this item? All right. We'll move along then. Next one is update on large projects, Fort Washington Boiler, Thomas Fitzwater Vestibule, San Juan Tennis Courts, etc.
Okay, this past week's board meeting, of course, voted on the vestibule work to be awarded. That first meeting is going to happen in end of April, pre-construction meeting to start the project. The Fort Washington Boiler and San Juan Tennis Courts, those projects were just advertised this week. The fourth project, which is the electrical upgrade at Thomas Fitzwater, It's in a little bit of a delay. The engineer of record, Senator Hoffman, the person working the project has left the company. We will have that engineered and out to bid so that the board can vote on it in May. The other two projects, the boiler and the tennis courts, they'll be brought forward to the board in April to vote on.
Okay. All right. All right, any questions on these?
We should place the advertisement this week. So basically, we're gonna have a pre-bid meeting next week, followed by after 3 weeks, the bids are due April 6th.
For what?
For both the Fort Washington boiler and the tennis court work at St. Rose.
Any other questions on this? All right. Go ahead. The next one is the update on the wood shop dust collection system at the high school.
Yes, we had Senator Hoffman come in and review the system. There's a letter in here in the package itself. Basically, Senator Hoffman was the original engineer for the room itself, so it was good we brought him in to take a look at it. He expressed that the original design of the room, the usage has changed, so he's made recommendations, and that's what's mentioned in the letter from Senator Hoffman. So at this point, I've gone forward with the 3 contractors who gave us original pricing for the room through John Rogers' request, and gave one defined scope of this is what we are actually looking for. I hope to have those proposals to me by tomorrow, so that next week we can move forward with the work, or letting out the work.
Right.
The work itself will be probably in the ballpark between $12,000 and $16,000. Yeah, it'll be under the threshold for me.
Yeah, and this is something that can be expedited and done as soon as possible. We don't have to wait till the summer for this? Or?
We'll have to take a look to see what we can do, because basically there's a piece of equipment in the room that has to be removed and replaced, and 3 items have to be installed in the ceiling. So we can take a look and see if it's something that can be done on an after-hours type of program,
Okay, all right.
or on a weekend thing. I think some of these contractors said they would come in on the weekend for no additional charge to do the work.
That, I mean, if at all possible, I'd like to see that expedited. But we know we have a condition there, and we should take care of it as soon as we can.
I would agree. This is impacting students as well as teachers, so the sooner we can get this done, the better for everyone.
Okay, I'll see what options are available to us.
Okay. All right, good. Any other questions on that item? All right, next is the lead celebration on Friday, April 22nd.
Mr. Schultz and I have exchanged emails and had conversations, and it looks like the EEC, the Environmental Club at the high school, will probably be hosting the event. We're trying to nail down a time. But in an interesting turn of events, I received an email, totally unsolicited, although I did see Tom Gilbert and a number of his associates at PASBO last week. They were checking out our website and noted that we're going to have the celebration. So I think that they might be part of the conversation and might have some interest in being here.
Sorry, who is that?
Gilbert,
Oh, great.
the architects.
Good. Absolutely.
Sharon, their PR person, sent me the email. And as I said, I talked with Tom Gilbert last week. So if there's any sort of celebratory punch and cookies or cake and those type of things, they may be willing to underwrite it.
Okay.
So it's growing, and yes, we will realize that we're now about 5 weeks out. We need to get a time set, most importantly, so people can get it on the calendar.
Right. We'll probably have to touch base as far as an invitation list. Probably there's some sort of an invitation we would want to send to people.
Certainly.
Yeah, all that sort of thing. So, good. I'm
Okay.
glad to see that's taking place.
Yes, and so it just proves what people, do monitor and look at the websites.
And again, this is, I guess, probably the final celebration of this completion of this high school. This was one that took a while to get the approvals through the lead process and all of that. But,
Yes, it did.
But we don't celebrate this enough, what took place here during that, 8-year process to design and build this school. And it's something we should be really proud of. Despite the few problems that we're dealing with right now, over the long haul, this is the best way to go. And it reflects exactly what the task force, 10 years ago said, that whatever you do, do it in a green manner. And we certainly do with the LEED goal.
Well, again, Sharon from Gilbert, I think, may have been involved in other activities similar because they design a number of new
Yeah.
buildings. So she may have some suggestions, but if they get too expensive, I know who I'll ask for a contribution.
Okay, good. Any other comments about that? All right, that concludes our agenda. If anyone from the community would like to address the committee? Seeing none, we will, unless there's any closing comments?
Yes, so an update regarding the nurse's phone.
Yes.
We looked out and surveyed all the nurses in all the buildings and tried to figure out what's the best way to remedy the situation. And given our phone issue, our phones are communication over IP, so you can't just plug in a regular phone on the wall, it's going to work. So we looked at Phone America. The remedy is about a $540 issue, or a cost item per building to fix. With the help of Bob Mills, we have a possible solution that can make a regular cordless phone work with a certain adapter to be used. So we ordered those items. They should be in this week. We're going to test it out over at Sandy Run. If it works, we're going to procure the remaining enough phones for the rest of the buildings so everyone would have a cordless phone to use in the nurses' quarters.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
And all the suites do have phones. They're just landline phones. They're not
Right.
cordless.
Yes. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So this is a great upgrade and one that will, allay a lot of concerns that some community members had, and certainly.
The concern was at Fort? Is that where Aaron was complaining about?
The parent was at Fort, but I guess she is a child at Sandy Run who had a concern because she couldn't communicate directly with her child because they didn't have a cordless phone at the time. that she
Okay, yeah, because I
called.
was asking why Sandy Run, but you think it, okay, but we're going to test it at Sandy Run.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, any other comments before we close it? All right, thank you very much. We are adjourned.